Women often nowadays are choosing to not constantly pop out babies and instead choose themselves in making a conscious decision of what it really means to bring a life into this world. Us childless women, for some reason, are always painted to be selfish. Checks notes, we aren't adding to the already massive population we have here on the planet. Then we're told that we will be missing out in future because children are just wonderful. They add so much to your life. There's such a benefit. And to that I say, sure. I could imagine having children is rewarding. It's a beautiful experience to raise another human being. And I am fully aware that I am going to miss out on a very natural experience of being a mother. But then we're told we will regret the decision altogether of not having children. Something that I think people tend to not recognize more often than not is that it is so much better to live with the regret of what could have been versus living with the regret of actually having this living being who is now on the planet, in which, with a lot of cases of parents regretting having children, the children have to put up with the consequences of that. And it's not really that lovely knowing that your parents regret bringing you into the world because of what their life could have been. And you're just here. Oh my God, you absolutely f***ing destroyed everything, Jamesy boy. Like 2 weeks ago, a fortnight ago, we sold out of the Drama Queen graphic tees. There aren't that many sizes left of the logo tee. I'm trying to get out the US orders as fast as possible because, as you guys know, your government put tariffs in place that has made it extremely hard to get it sent to you guys. Don't worry, no prices have been raised. I'm paying these fees. Thank you so much for supporting the Drama Queeniverse. Yes, that's right. Yappersville, unite, bro! Now, back to the video. It's gonna be a long one.
If you're on the fence about whether you want to have kids or not, I have some important information to share with you. Last night, I woke up to see every single hour of the clock. Some more than once. And then I was awoken by the sound of a pterodactyl screaming. It was just my baby waking up. At 6:30, he wanted to start his day, so I carried him to my bed to hopefully get some more time to rest. And promptly, at 6:37, I was greeted with a swift slap to the face.
Absolutely not. I'm not the one. Even my own kid, we will be having a scrap because what do you mean? You've woken me up every single hour on the dot, and now you want to slap me across the face because I'm tired because of you. No, I'm just kidding. I would never actually treat a child like that, let alone my own. I, unfortunately, already have so much trouble getting to sleep at night. I have really bad anxiety, and over the past couple of months, it has really flared back up again. Why? I don't know. Anxiety is irrational. But already knowing that for some years now, I have had trouble getting to sleep properly, then me bringing a kid into the world where for the next, what do you say, like 10 to 12 years, it's just gonna get a whole lot worse? Nah, I am not willing to put myself through that. And I think it would be quite selfish to bring a kid into this world, knowing all of these facts about myself, and then treating the kid bad because of my problems that I did not fix before having them. So dealing with what this poor woman is currently experiencing, there were so many people in the comments just completely invalidating her struggles. Most of them were parents for some reason, and they were mostly saying stuff like, well, you were a kid once, aren't you grateful your parents had you? Like, grateful for what exactly? Grateful that I've got to live in a world like this, mate? Like, I love my parents, but I fucking hate this world, cunt. But also, what does any of that have to do with what this woman is talking about? Anytime we see a mother having complaints about her children, let alone her struggles dealing with children, she always gets invalidated for it. She's never understood. She's a whinging, moaning bitch, and she should just keep it to herself. And then people wonder why mothers at such a large rate develop depression because they're so isolated from everybody, because they're always like, well, you chose to have the kids, did you not? Yes, we're quite aware of that. But we should also welcome a space for women to talk about their issues. But because that isn't popular, like literally whatsoever, why the fuck would you want to bring a kid into this world when you're not going to be supported either? This woman was sharing her experience towards the people who are on the fence of having children. Now, personally, I think that if you're on the fence of having kids, you probably just shouldn't have them at all, period. You know, people get pregnant for many different reasons, but I think that if you're unaware of what parenthood looks like, maybe this is not something for you. And it's not me saying, well, you can't just go read up on it and research and, you know, weigh up the pros and cons of becoming a parent, but I think that some people go into it so ignorant, so blind, and then they up their kids for the rest of their lives. That is why I say, if you're on the fence, you just may as well not have them whatsoever. It is not selfish to not want to deal with what it takes to raise a child, like waking up every hour of the night and then also proceeding to be slapped in the face by the very kid who has kept you awake, who has deprived you of sleep. It is something that not many people are built for. Like, for instance, I am not built for that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, I have to attend to everyday life duties as well. Absolutely not. No. Having children is not a novelty, and they will disrupt every aspect of your life. There are people out there who actively want that, who wants to be a parent. There are also people who could never dream of being a parent, don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But then you also have people who are completely unaware of how much children are going to affect their lives negatively, though that is not conducive to kids being a negative force in your life. You have to understand, when you are having children, it is all or nothing. And I think that I'm just so overly aware of that. I am way too conscious about that. I've weighed up the pros and cons again and again and again. I've cried, I've mourned, you know, that mother that I know I could be a really good mother, a happy one. I'm not so sure about that. And I'm also not so sure about the fact that because I haven't made such an active effort to get better mentally, that I wouldn't pass down any of my shit onto a child who does not deserve that whatsoever.
Just don't have kids. If you're not ready to sacrifice the rest of your life mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, do not have kids. Everybody comes up with all of this discord, but what they are leaving out is the fact that when you become a parent, life is no longer about you.
Exactly.
Anymore. And miss me with the bullshit that children don't stop anything or they don't come in the way of stuff. Yes, they do. If you are even a fraction of a decent parent, at some point your child or your children is going to come in front of your direct need or desire.
Most of us, I'm assuming, have parents. Maybe some people watching this video don't have theirs with us on this earth any longer. And to that, I say rest in paradise. But we know for a fact that our parents put things off, put things on hold, never went out, even down to career choices. They changed because they had us. We unfortunately took priority over their dreams and aspirations in life. For some people, children are a burden, and therefore it would be better off altogether to not have them due to just how much children take up your life. I don't ever plan to stop doing YouTube videos. This is probably gonna go on until the day I die. I am somebody who has stood on business time and time again. I am against family vlogging. I'm against people who put their kids' faces online in order to make a buck. Now, because I am somebody who has a platform, if I had a kid, they would take up a lot of my time. So I don't know how much I could research a video. I edit all my videos. I don't have an editor whatsoever. And a child would just destroy that. They they just would. And I'm not somebody who is just gonna backpedal and go back on business and do a family vlogging channel because I got a kid now. Absolutely fucking not. Now, because I'm aware of what a child will do to my life, it is why I have made the decision to not ever have the damn kids. And did you know that some parents even count down the days until their child turns 18 so that they can kick them out as soon as possible and go off and live the life that they have dreamt of the entire time whilst they have been raising that child that they regretted. But even then, those kinds of parents did not think through having a child enough. Being a parent doesn't just expire once your child turns 18. They are a lifelong commitment, not just an 18-year tenure that you move on from and forget about eventually.
They are. It is what it is. And that's what you need to know. Unless you are ready to sacrifice your life for another human being, do not have children. I don't care if you find a man, you find a woman, y'all get married, y'all get the house and the white picket fixed. I don't give a damn. Just don't do it.
This woman spoke nothing but facts throughout this entire TikTok, because I don't think people truly in their heart of hearts understand sometimes just how much of a commitment even just having one child is. Too many times nowadays we're seeing just how many parents are actively ignoring their kids, neglecting them and their emotional needs, just shoving a iPad in front of their faces and calling it a day because they didn't realize how much of, I wouldn't say kids are a burden, but how much they can disrupt your life. They will annoy you. They will piss you off. But unfortunately, that is what you have to deal with making such a life-changing decision, like bringing someone into this world who didn't ask to be born. I'm not one of those people who are completely like anti-birth and don't have kids because they didn't ask to be brought into this world. Maybe you're going to bring a kid into this world and they're going to be the next Einstein and do so much great for the world. But there's too many times that I'm going out, I'm running my errands, I'm going to the post office, I'm getting some eyelash glue, and I'm walking past this particular shopping center that I go to sometimes because it's a bit, too much, it's too big. They have the shittest play areas. What is this? I don't want to bring a kid into this world where people don't even care about kids enough to make things fun for them. You literally just put this together in 10 seconds and called it a day. But that's besides the point. I'll see kids on these really boring, soul-sucking playgrounds. Meanwhile, their parent is just scrolling on the phone, has been for the past couple of hours, and the kid is just begging for a crumb of their attention. I don't ever want to be that kind of parent, but I know that I'm gonna get annoyed. I'm gonna be exhausted by this little human because they require so much. There's so much a little human needs. And I'm not the kind of person who can give that to anybody, especially when I can't even show up for myself most days. Sometimes I forget to brush my teeth, so no. No. Or you'll see parents complain on TikTok that they can't do X, Y, and Z now because they have kids. Yes, of course, parents can go onto TikTok and complain about their struggles and try to find community within that, because we're going to touch on a little later how it takes a village. That's no longer a thing. You knew to an extent that you couldn't go out drinking until 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, this particular TikTok that I'm talking about is unfortunately deleted. I forgot to save it. But there was a parent who was discussing how they were so annoyed that they can't go out drinking anymore. And it's like, dude, that was just gonna happen anyways, having a kid. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's completely different when a mother goes onto TikTok and is like, I have had no sleep, I still have to work, I still have to do these chores, I still have to do the everyday life duties. That's completely different. One thing people, especially women over decades, have been sold is this idea that they are complete once they birth a child. And at some points in time, women were told, pop out as many as you can. The more the better, the more the merrier. You'll love it. You'll love this life. And the societal standards that were in place back when women in the 50s were taking care of a household, raising children whilst their husband was at work and didn't have to lift a finger when he got home because, oh my God, guys, like, he makes the money So he's king, apparently. Unfortunately, even in the progressive, well, I don't know if people are progressive anymore, honestly. In 2025, we really think that we have progressed in a lot of things, in a lot of areas, and we certainly have. Women are able to vote, they're able to go to work, they're able to do the same thing that a man does, they're able to do whatever the they want to do. Whereas back like 50, 70 years ago, that wasn't the case. But the problem is that those standards are still in place in 2025. Women are expected to have these kids and also raise them solely whilst going to work, because it's not the fact that these women always necessarily want to go out there and earn their own dollar. No, the economy is that bad at the moment that even a two-income household can't sustain a family. Humans don't always need to procreate to have this sense of completedness. Things are a lot different these days. You do run the risk of being with a man who is an incompetent husband, an incompetent father. This man goes to work for like 9-10 hours, comes home and basically spits in your face and says, I don't really think that I have to raise these kids that I also chose to bring into this world, that I actually begged you for. Because I made this money today, I don't have to show up as a father, and I also don't have to show up as a husband. Here you are, also having to work, but that doesn't matter because a lot of men don't consider being a stay-at-home mum work. When I think about it, it's a lot worse than actually having a job, right? Because at least you can fucking clock out of a job. You can't when you have kids. That is something that you can't just say, oh, no, I'm done now. I'm done for the night. No, you not. That kid is gonna throw up. They need their nappy changed. They're gonna throw food at the wall. They're also gonna draw on the walls. Like, you're not ever done being a mum. Especially because in most cases, mum is seen as the default parent. And I think that a lot of women at the moment, including myself, have sort of come to this conclusion that we don't need to bring kids into this world to feel complete. And I feel like I'm robbing my parents of having this little Caitlin running around and being grandparents and whatnot, but in the same breath, I can't live my life for other people. I have to do that for me. And it does suck, and it isn't fair, but nothing about this world is fair.
Whenever somebody tells me, oh, you're missing out because I don't have kids, I'm like, you're covered in shit, you haven't slept in days, and your ears are ringing from the constant screaming. I think I'm good.
Okay, does anyone feel like that was just a little bit mean? Like, whoa! This kind of discourse adds even more fuel to the fire that parents have with child-free people. I think for the most part, parents do understand to a certain degree that yes, their lives would be significantly better if they didn't have children. But having kids also has its benefits. It does have its rewards, such as raising a wonderful human being to go out into the world and create wonderful things. You did a good job in that aspect. You get to experience somebody's first milestones. That's really fucking cool. And the cherry on top of it all is that you get to break patterns, the generational trauma cycle. It stops with you, and that is so fucking sick. I could go on and on and on. There are so many pros to having kids, but there are so many cons as well. Much like we have already spoken about in this video, you get to do whatever you want being a child-free person. That money you make is all yours. You get to spend that however you want. You don't have to be responsible for anybody else but your damn self. And that's pretty fucking cool. Being the handler, if you will, of somebody else's life is extraordinarily fucking scary to me. Like, I don't know. I'm not playing around with that. But I think that this competition on who lives a better life, child-free versus having children, is always going to fall flat on its face because, well, it isn't a competition on who has a better life. Now, when it comes to the conversation of if you're not having kids, who's going to look after you and wipe your ass when you're 80? Acting as if there aren't literal facilities that specialize in taking care of the elderly, one could argue the fact that because you don't have kids, you're not going to pass on this heavy grief and pain onto a child that obviously won't be a child, it'll be a fully grown adult, but my point still stands. They won't have to deal with that trauma, that hurt, that pain, that yearning for you, their parent, to come back to them. And to that, I say, what a wonderful thing in life that we still get the ability to make these choices for ourselves, especially when women all around the world from many different walks of life aren't allowed to have a say over their body, aren't allowed to make decisions on what goes in and out of their body. They aren't allowed to make choices for themselves. And I am so grateful that I am a woman who gets to choose.
You say you don't want kids and people go, well, who's going to take care of you when you're old? I'm like, hold on. You're telling me you want me to waste my like 60, 70 good years of life for an extra 5 when I'm old as fuck? You know who's going to take care of me? The people I pay to, because I'm going to have so much extra money from not having kids.
And the selfishness that comes from having kids in the name of, well, who's going to take care of me when I'm older? I need somebody. Everybody needs somebody to take care of them when they're older, a lot older, when they're considered being in the elderly category of person. But that does not always have to be a kid, because unfortunately, you bring a kid into this world, they now have their own set of issues when they're older. They might have their own families. They might have a very demanding job. They might not be able to look after you due to the fact that they don't have the means to. A lot of parents have this idea that they bring children into this world and they're going to take care of them no matter what because they have to. I'm your parents. You must take care of me. That, to me, is selfish. I think that it is a privilege to be taken care of by your kids when you get old. And yes, I do say that that is selfish. And it's not so much for the fact that, you know, your kids will have to put their lives on pause to attend to your needs and the things that you need to get done and whatnot. But that is never a good enough reason to bring a child into this world. Because what that is saying is that I am only having kids because I need a caretaker in the future. You can just pay people to do that. No one is stopping people from having kids, and no one is stopping you from wanting your kids to take care of you when you get older. That's if you have the means, that's if they have the means to do that. But everyone acts like it's this shameful thing to go to a facility when it's quite literally like, when I get to 80, if I even get to 80, universe knows the shit that I've done put in my body. Oh God. No, let's not talk about that. I will not care. I'm not gonna care who is wiping my bum. Why is that? Because I'm almost gonna die. These are my final years. I don't know what else to tell you. A lot of people who work in these retirement villages, aged care facilities, and assisted living all say that having kids absolutely does not guarantee that they will be the people who will take care of you. How could you expect that from them when you brought them into this world, they went off and made their own decisions, such as having families, having their own lives. Somehow it's their fault that you're aging. That's not right, bro. You brought them into this world only to be surprised that they're now doing what you did, raising a family. The growing number in women choosing to not have children is not all that surprising. Another big factor that takes place in these growing statistics is weaponized incompetence. Having children with a person who lacks basic life skills due to the neglect of their own parental figure is not a good enough excuse for me, I'm sorry. Like, it comes a time where you can only blame your parents so much for the things that they didn't teach you. Now, is that me saying, oh, you know, all of yous, I don't care that your parents neglected you? No, but when you're 37 and you're well aware that you can't cook, that you can't do this, that, and the third, you need to learn those things. I don't care if you're a 37-year-old man and mummy never got you to do this, but they got your sisters to always do it. It's well time to grow the up, especially if you're a man who is begging your woman for kids. She has those kids and you don't change. You don't change with that. Men will be 10 years deep into a marriage, with children, mind you, still leaving his dirty underwear on the floor, still using the excuse, oh, mum and dad never taught me how to cook as a kid, so I don't fucking know. Open YouTube, and the same man can't for the life of him, for some reason, do the laundry or change the bed sheets. Why would you want a child with a person like that? He can't cook or even do the dishes. And then you want to bring children into the mix? Nah. Women just don't want to put up with that shit anymore and want to focus on themselves. And somehow that gets labeled as selfish. Dude, I don't want to be a mum to my husband. If he is aware that he doesn't know a certain thing, he should probably go and try and learn it. Just like how they expect mums to learn how to be a mum. It goes both ways, mate. And with this culture of hating women and wanting to be a red pill, Andrew Tate, alpha male, women don't want kids with these losers. I'm sure if the world was a much better place, the birth rate would not be declining. Change my mind on that one.
My husband cooked dinner for the first time, and I can't even remember how long.
No, this shouldn't be a thing. Cooking is not a gendered thing. I don't know why women marry these men who are so incapable of doing the smallest things in life. And yes, cooking is one of them. I get it. There are probably many people in the audience who can't cook or are probably in a relationship with somebody where they mainly cook because that is something they enjoy doing. But it gets to a point. You cook like this and then you just leave all the dishes too. Wait until what she says next.
You know, to be helpful to his wife. There was a pot right here full of beans that he let boil over because he put them here on the stove and then went and took a nap for 6 hours. Well, the stove's on. And then I refused to clean this up for him because I just cleaned the whole house yesterday and the day before that. Where's the beans, you ask? Oh, well, I just found them. They're right there. In the refrigerator in my pot.
In the fucking cooking pot too. Like, how fucking useless could you be, mate? Ladies, you need to be actively choosing better men to be married to, especially having kids with. My parents both cooked meals growing up. Both mum and dad. Sometimes dad would make a meal and she'd want dad to relax and she'd say, oh no, sweetheart, I'll do the dishes. And then it'd be the other way around. Mum would cook dinner and dad would be like, oh no, I'm going to do the dishes. Sometimes mum made a meal that, you know, she used 10 different dishes and she cleaned up the mess. The exact same with dad. I don't remember one time this kind of shit happening. You should be with somebody who is willing to show up for not just you, but themselves and their fucking kids. I'm sorry, this may be a really unpopular opinion, but it is not that much of a hassle to cook and do the dishes. It really isn't. And the fact that he already doesn't cook often means that he can do the fucking dishes as well, considering he used a bunch of unnecessary dishes to make the dinner. He also had the time for a 6-hour nap, irresponsible as it is, leaving food cooking on a hot plate, on a stove. What the fuck are you doing, man? I don't care how tired you are. Turn the fucking food off. And it's such a common theme with these types of men. They'll say, oh babe, you know, I'll take it off your back tonight. I'll do you the favor and I'll cook us some dinner. And then they do this kind of shit. Like, I may as well have cooked the dinner because you've just used unnecessary dishes and now I have to clean up too. How are you supposed to raise kids properly in this kind of environment? In an environment where the dad doesn't care about mum enough to get his hands a little dirty in the kitchen like she has to every single other fucking night. You just can't be having children with these kinds of men, as they are absent dads and absent husbands. They're just essentially another kid that you have to take care of. And who wants that? I'm not out here trying to kill myself to live. Fuck that. And then people wonder why they're regretting having children. Maybe you're not even regretting having the children themselves, but the person that you fucking had them with. Kids highlight the flaws within a relationship. So it's really, really important to choose the right person to have children with, or you run the risk of completely fucking hating your life and then taking that out on kids who didn't ask to be born. It takes a village is a statement that you've probably heard over the course of your life whenever the topic of having children is brought up. And for the most part, it is true. It does take a lot of support to raise a child. It takes family, it takes friends. I have a few friends who have had children over the past couple of years, and it's really sad how many times I have been asked, is it okay if I bring so-and-so? I promise you, like, they're not going to be a hassle whatsoever. They're such a good kid. And it's like, you don't even need to try and prove that to me, dolls. I am still your friend regardless of the fact that you now have a child. That does not change my love for you. That will never change my love for you. And in fact, now I have this new mini you to love. That's so sick. And it sucks because people these days seem to be really anti-child. Now, I have done a catalogue of videos on this channel about Gen Alpha and their behaviors, why they may behave that way. Now, I'm no professional, of course, but we were all kids once, so I think that makes anybody a professional on that matter. We do see how kids act these days, but that is never the children's fault. It really comes down to that parent and how they are raising their child. It has nothing to do with the kid whatsoever. And some people will say, oh, but drama queen, you don't fucking understand. My kid is a little shit no matter what I fucking do about it. Well, in that case, I don't think enough was done. I know that may sound a little controversial, but I don't want my friends who are now mums to be coming to me scared to bring their kids over because people seem to hate kids nowadays and people don't want kids in any sort of space. Like, sure, at a brewery, at a bar, why are kids there? But when it comes to Kmart or something, yes, kids exist too. And you were once a kid and you were once a little shit. So have some fucking grace. I think that a lot of mums these days are treated as though they are a burden because of the kids they now have. Because you knew a previous version of your mum friend, you're like, oh, I don't think we can be friends anymore because we're not on the same page. People change once they have children. They can't go out drinking with you anymore. I'm so sorry. You just don't see them as a person now because you automatically think of them as a mother. And a lot of people put down mums. And it's like, why would you want a kid when you are risking losing all of your friends because they don't want kids and they see you as a different person once you have the kid?
So recently I went to meet up with a friend for lunch and she shows up with the kid, which I didn't know she was going to be doing.
Ma'am, respectfully, your friend is a mother. Does she have to announce every single time that she's gonna be bringing her kids? It's up to you to communicate with her and say, hey, are you bringing little Jamesy boy? Because if you are, I'm sorry, but I'm just not really in that kind of mental space at the moment to deal with a kid. But you don't want to be seen as the asshole. That's what I'm gathering here. Respectfully, your friend is a mum and you just got to assume that she's bringing her kid. What do you want her to do? Change her entire life just to placate you, the child-free person? You know, people like this, they're the exact reason why they give child-free people like us a really bad name. It's not that I hate children. That's not why I don't want children. I just don't want children because they don't suit me. They don't suit my lifestyle. They don't suit my mental health or anything about me. However, I'm not going to treat people with children less than because I don't want them. It has nothing to do with hating kids. Like, this is just, oh my God, this is already giving me the ick, bro. It takes a village, and I feel like this woman is just wasting her friend's time, and you'll see why.
Honestly, the lunch was just not really what I had bargained for. She was obviously very distracted. I couldn't get through 3 sentences without the kid needing something. And I walked away kind of not feeling like my cup was full.
Your cup wasn't full. I recently, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, or maybe my time is wrong in my head, I'm not sure. But I was hanging out with a friend of mine, a close friend of mine that I've made recently. She has kids and she was attending to those kids whilst we were talking. That did not interrupt absolutely anything because I'm not a person. I actually would prefer that my friend attends to her kids and doesn't raise an iPad kid. I actually stand on my business, I stand on my values and my morals. Whenever I hang out with people who have kids, I don't want to see them playing on an iPad, but I would much rather my friend attend to the kid, play with the kid, interacting with us and whatnot, instead of being neglected to suit you and your child-free needs. You can be child-free, but understand this. People have children. People want children. This is just extremely selfish, and it's another reason why people just don't want to have kids altogether. My friends are just gonna fucking hate my guts. They won't want to see me because I have this kid. How am I going to get this kid to be taken care of when, I already don't have money, I already don't have time, I really want to hang out with my friend because I want some normalcy in my life, I'm not just a mom. And then you have this person going onto TikTok complaining about how her cup isn't full. As someone who is child-free, I deal with my own set of issues, but I know for a fact my life would just be 10 times harder if I had a kid. So my cup is actually quite full because all I have to do is attend to just me. It takes a village, but the village doesn't want to be there for the mum. They change their opinions on her. They deem her to be just a mum and that's it. She's not her own person anymore. And I think that is really, really fucked up. If I was a mum and I found out that one of my child-free friends got onto TikTok and said this kind of shit, we're not friends anymore, I'm just gonna feel extremely isolated. I don't ever want mothers to feel as though they can't still have friends whilst having children because of complaints like this. Another big factor that plays into why people aren't having kids these days is because everybody is an asshole about children. I can already smell the comments. But drama queen, you don't understand. Like, sometimes I have bad experiences with kids at restaurants because they scream and cry and blah, blah, blah. You did that too, mate. It is up to you to take that frustration out somewhere else. That is not the kid's fault. It is crying because it doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and maybe because the parent isn't attending to it. But the fact that you have a friend who is a mum who made the time to come out and see you is insane.
You want like a meaningful interaction with someone, and I just couldn't get it because the kid was there. I don't think that you should spring your kids on people. I think if you have to bring the kid, you should tell your friend and they should be able to decide whether or not they're up for that. Do you guys agree?
No, I'm guys, and I don't agree. I don't agree with this take actually whatsoever. Because I have a few friends that are mums, I assume that they are gonna bring their kids with them to see me. In the instance that maybe my house isn't child-proofed enough, or, it's just, I have things out that maybe kids shouldn't be playing with because they're either too expensive or they're not for their age or whatever the fuck. I would then say, hey, just letting you know, you can totally not come over, but I would prefer if Jamesy boy didn't come around with you because of this, that, and the third. And it's up to the mum friend to decide whether she wants to still come and see you or be like, oh, yeah, no worries, his nan will take care of him, no problems whatsoever. But if you're somebody like this who is that uppity over their friends bringing their kids with them, you need to communicate that better with them. That is not on the kid, and it's also not on the mum. You should just assume that your mum friend is bringing her fucking kids. Like, what the fuck is this kind of mentality? It is so mean towards the mum. It is so mean towards the kid because it's like, well, then she's just not your friend anymore. You getting up onto TikTok and talking about how your cup isn't full, her cup ain't full, man. She's a mum. And then people are like, oh, but like child-free people still have their own problems. Yes, but understand this, you made that decision because you knew having kids was going to be hard. So what do you think that parents of kids have to deal with? That's right, hard things. And it's not a competition on who goes through more, who has a harder life. But if you're thinking critically about this, a mum has an infinitely harder life than somebody who isn't a mum. Like, you can't argue that. You get to go home and not have to stress or worry about taking care of a kid. She doesn't have that same experience. But because of this lack of support parents get these days, friends not wanting to be around them anymore because universe forbid they're around a kid for an hour of coffee, family can't watch the kids because they have to go out there and break their backs for $1 to pay for the never-ending increasing price of life, and childcare, nannies, like babysitters and all that, they're fucking expensive. The village is a thing of the past, and I'm sorry, but doing the whole parenting thing alone is even more of a reason, at least to me, to not have the damn kids. There are so many factors as to why women aren't wanting to bear the load of bringing life into the world at the minute, and I'm sure I have many people in the audience, much like myself, who are just like, no. Like, kids, absolutely not. Not in my storyline, twin. And once again, must I remind the audience, it's not the fact that I think I would be a shit cunt of a mum. I just would not be a happy one, and I would most likely regret the decision.
Men raging and throwing a tantrum because we don't want kids is so funny because they'll always say things like, you're so selfish. Don't you want to continue on this generation? If you don't have kids, this generation is going to end and all of humanity is going to end.
My question is, what is so bad about that? Genuinely, what is so bad about that? Do you understand that one day you're not going to be here anymore and you're going to be rotting in the dirt and you're not going to know what is going on in the world around you? Why do we need to bring more people into the world that we're currently living in that is setting people up for failure time and time again? I don't want any offspring of mine to experience that. Not even a smidge of it. Nah, I am not responsible for populating the earth. I'd argue that we're almost about to hit our cap on the earth anyways. So what is the point? Genuinely, there's no incentive really to have kids anymore. Life is getting worse for people. Gen Z women are realizing that they don't have to carry the burden and the weight of making a decision that they're going to hate for the rest of their life, all because they need to meet this sort of standard to live a normal, completedness, white picket fence, golden retriever dog lifestyle. Nah. How is it that it's up to women to carry on generations, but whenever men are met with the task of taking care of some household chores, they're like, no, I can't do this. I can't. I just can't. I'd rather cut off my hands than do a little bit of laundry. People still undermine motherhood. People still don't respect mums. People still think that being a stay-at-home mum means that you're lazy and that you do nothing all day. Like, nah, fuck yes. Yes, if that's what you think, we're just not having kids at all. Yes, Jared, I don't want to be responsible for another fucking life when I constantly question my own.
And it's like, okay, and? Like, if you want me to have kids so bad, if I provide that much value to the entirety of humanity, why don't I have the same rights that you have? In fact, why don't I have more rights than you have? Because if I control life, then why do you get more rights than me? Shouldn't it be the other way around? And also, what makes you think that I would want to go through pregnancy, post-pregnancy, not being able to leave the house without the husband texting, when are you coming home, every 5 minutes, because the husband can't even take care of his own kids, and leaving the entire mental load and emotional, mental, physical labor on the wife, and having the wife pick up the majority of the invisible labor without ever acknowledging that she picks up the entirety of the invisible labor.
The fact of the matter is, there is a large portion of men, Gen Z men, still wanting women to do the exact same thing that women once did in the 50s, where back then, people had their own set of issues. I am not taking away from that whatsoever, but things are progressively getting harder. People can't sustain themselves even off of a 2-income household. Like, it really depends on what you do for a living, and most people aren't making decent money. They're not making a decent wage to even be able to send their kids off to college or maybe pay for courses that they might want to do and whatever the fuck. It isn't a suitable life for women to lead, having to deal with the emotional, physical, mental load of having a child, and then on top of that, having a job as well. And let's face it, having kids in current day is becoming less and less reasonable. Now, is that to say that people these days can't do it successfully? Absolutely not. Everybody is met with their own set of circumstances that can change, and, you know, kids, for some people, inspire them to do so much more with their lives and take it to different levels and different heights that they never could have seen if they didn't have the fucking kids. But people are becoming more and more aware of the pros and cons of having children in 2025. I'm excited to see where this conversation leads us next in, you know, the new year. It's not that far away. Has anyone felt that this year has just gone a little bit too fast? Like, what the fuck, guys? It feels like yesterday I woke up and it was January and now it's October something, I don't know. But judging people for not wanting to have kids is extremely wild to me. And these are all the reasons, and there are so many more that I could have put in today's video, but I know that it would have gone on for too long and people wouldn't have want to sat there for all of it. But if there is anything you would like to add to the conversation, please feel free. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. This has been a longer one than usual, so just let me know if you guys like a way more in-depth kind of piece of content, as I'm trying to work on that a lot more at the moment. We're working hard, guys. We're working hard on good content to put out for you to eat your food to, or wash the dishes, or whatever you do to a drama queen video. Take care of yourselves, and most of all, love your fucking selves.